Hi, everybody. Are you a perfectionist with your comic collection? Do you demand perfection and do you demand 9.8 only? Comic collectors in general, at least I could speak for myself, but I think most of the people I've known are pretty fastidious about their comic collection. They want as high a grade, and there is as much of an OCD group of collectors that I've ever met in my entire life. I am not particularly a 9.8 demander. But anyway, everybody, this is John the Comic Guy. This is episode 5, and today let's talk about condition. Let's talk and see if you are one of the folks that demand 9.8s or not. In a lot of cases, I really am focused on golden and silver age books. I do get my share of newer books from bronze and all the way up to modern, but first and foremost, when I'm buying a golden or a silver age book, I'm in a lot of cases just happy to own them. I'm going to show a couple of examples to show what I mean by when you have a book that's 60 plus years old. Sometimes you'll just take it in any condition. And I'll even show you some of my newer, more modern books that I'm I would have loved to have gotten a 9.8. And I know a lot of people demand the 9.8s, but that just has such a premium tied to it. And as I think we've already established, I'm cheap. I squeak when I walk. So again, I'm a little bit frugal when I'm doing that. But first, let's talk about this book. I love this book. It's Superman issue number 7. It says 3.0, but it's actually not. That is a qualified grade because it's missing a few pages. But it looks like 3.0. And this is one of my comic skins with my own label, so I have it qualified. And because it is missing pages, it really is really a no grade book, incomplete. But sometimes when you get a chance to own a book of of this age, and the cover again has some dirt marks, but it's from 1940. Um, the story was written by Jerry Siegel, and the art was by Joe Shuster and Wayne Boring. I believe I probably paid about $100 for this book. So it's not cheap. It wasn't cheap for me to get. I'm just happy to own a copy of it. But one of the books that I'm really just happy to own. Another book. Now this is one of my pride and joys. The Amazing Spider-Man #2. This is a complete book. I pressed it. It's a 1.0. As you can see, it's missing a little piece of the cover on the bottom corner. What can I say? It was 1963, May 1963. I'm just delighted to own this. And I got this pretty recently in a great Silver Age collection. A 1.0 Amazing Spider-Man #2. I'm good with that. It's obviously I don't have an Amazing Spider-Man #1, so this is clearly the oldest book of Spider-Man that I have, and for all I know, it might be the oldest book I ever have from Spider-Man. I just am so glad to own it. When you're talking about a book this old from the 60s and then the other one from 1940, it would be hard to get it. It would be very expensive to get it with a higher grading. So I'm good with an incomplete, or I'm good with a 1.0. But what about newer books? This book is so popular. The last episode, if you remember, and if you haven't seen it, please go back to see episode number 4 when I was talking about completists. I showed my favorite cover of all time. It's actually my favorite Silver Age cover of all time. It was Silver Surfer #4, right? My favorite modern cover happens to be done by Todd McFarlane, Spider-Man #1. Now, I do have the green cover, and I do have the silver cover, 9.8s, and that was great. I got them. When I say I got them cheap, I got them a long time ago. I probably paid $15 a piece for them, graded at 9.8s. This was, I think, through a trade. But, again, I don't want to be paying the premium price for a 9.8. Sometimes I'm good with a 9.6. When you're as old as I am, the books used to be near mint, mint, very fine, right? We didn't have numbers associated. In the olden days, if you had a 9.0, and I think it's actually 9.2, all the way up to a 10.0, those are considered near mint or mint. Um, Now they get so picayune about the 9.2s, 9.6 is a beautiful book. I forget how much I got in trade value for this, but you know, I'm okay with that. I know the newer books you might as well strive for a 9.8, but if it's going to tag on another $50, you know, for now, I'm happy with my 9.6. But I do these. This is my favorite modern cover. Um, yeah, I think you guys already know me. Whether you're new to the channel or you've traded with me or we were friends for a long time, I think you guys know I'm a big Todd fan. Another modern book, especially now when we're talking keys, right? This is a key, another Todd book, The Hulk 340. Very popular book, but again, when you're talking 9.6, 9.8, it's very, very expensive. So this is a book that I actually had graded. I got it raw. It was a decent book. I knew it wouldn't come back a 9.8. I knew it had a couple of dings on the side. It's not a perfect book, but again, it's for my collection. It's graded. It looks good. I'm okay with a 9.2. This isn't a little bit older. If I could ever get this one in a 9.8, I think that's going to cost, it'll cost me. This is another book that I had graded, so I had it raw, pressed it. Again, I press all of my big books, clean them as much as I can, and then I had this sent in, and it came back at 8.5. I think that was a win. When I saw that, 8.5 in the olden days is a very fine. I'm good with a 1970 book as a very fine. And again, this book happens to have been the original story with Silver Surfer and Spider-Man. When I was a kid, they actually reprinted this in one of those big Treasury editions. And I had that Treasury edition. I guess it was a Silver Surfer Treasury edition rather than a Spider-Man. I think it was from the Silver Surfer Treasury, the big book. And I love that story. And it's like I always had comic envy of people who own this. So, you know, now I was fortunate enough to come across this beautiful condition, and I'm happy to own it. 8.5 or not. I love the book. Because of 9.8, oofda. Now, we're really talking some modern books. This is an interesting one. This is a book, God Country, from Image. It was a part of their 25th anniversary box giveaways. This book, interestingly enough, kind of kickstarted me back into comics. In 1992, I started for the third time, and I never really quit. But vinyl records took over a little bit again, and I started being a little bit more passive about my collecting with comic books. If I saw a collection up for sale, I would have picked it up. But ultimately, it was a collection that I got that included this book, and I was kind of curious about it. I thought it was a beautiful cover, and it apparently came in this poly bag. All of the poly bags were opened, and the books were loose at that point. So I saw this, and then I saw the other covers for God Country #1, and I think this one by far blows it away. And I think this was like a special giveaway or a special inclusion in the 25th anniversary Image boxes. What is that? The Image blind box set is what it says on the label. So I got this grade. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it would have come back a 9.8. Again, not that I'm obsessed about it, but I thought it looked beautiful. It would have came back a 9.6. What are you going to do? I think I might own, kind of tying back to episode 4, I'm not a completist. I think this, and I have one other issue of God Country. I think it was issue number 5. So. I have the first, and I have the last issue of it. It's a cool storyline, but am I really driven to search and look for issues 2, 3, and 4? Honestly, not really. I'm happy with this just because I love the cover, and I think emotionally I'm tied to it because it kind of pulled me in a little bit back into buying comics a lot. The last book I'm going to show today, again, I think anybody would be happy with this book. It's the newsstand version of Amazing Spider-Man 300. Again, a Todd McFarlane book. We all know John Lai is a big fan of Todd McFarlane. So I'm always looking for Todd stuff. I I got 2 issues of this, one of which I traded off, but one was an 8.5 direct edition. This was a 9.0 newsstand. I kept the 9.0. I I would love to have a 9.8. Am I really motivated to be seeking that out? I'm not. I know a 9.8 is going to cost me. It's going to cost me till it hurts. Do I really need it? Not really. So again, that's where you could see I'm not as OCD. I have a lot of OCD tendencies. I really do like to protect my book. I double board them in Mylar, but a 9.0 Amazing 300, I'm comfortable. If I come across another one, this is one of the books that I like to monetize. And what I mean by that, and again, this is just kind of the vernacular I use. I like to, certain books, grade them. I've read this several times. I'm good with the story. Dave Michelini, you wrote a great story. Great book, great story, great art. I don't need to read it again. Anytime I get an Amazing 300, I'm going to get it graded, and I'm going to have it sitting in my collection, ready to be traded. So this is my only copy right now, but purely for the record, while I love the book, there's some of my books that I will always just, since I read them a bunch of times, I'm good with that. I'm going to get them graded, and I am preparing myself for a situation to either trade or sell off those books. So that really is, I think that shows you I am really not that much of a stickler for the the extremely high grade books. I'm sometimes good just to own the book. What do you think? I know a lot of you guys might be looking at my collection saying, John, you really got to go for 9.8s, and I just never will. Right? At this point, I think it's been established. You know, I'm a little on the cheaper side. Sometimes if I could get a 9.0 and a good price, and it's inexpensive for me to acquire, I'm good. I'm not going to go put in the extra couple of $100 to try to search out for a 9.8. I'm just not that guy. So anyway, sound off. Let me know what you think. Are you one of those? And again, I'm not going to say anything bad. If you are a 9.8 guy or a girl, good for you. That's cool. Let me know. Let me know if your collection consists of nothing but 9.8s and all graded. I am really curious because those collectors are just like a step ahead, and I want to know: are you doing it because you're purely an investor? Are you a collector? Do you like it because you think the covers are cool, but you're really looking to one day offload and get the most bang for the buck? I'm curious on the psychology behind it because, again, I don't know if I'm going to ever sell my collection. I tell my kids, who are all adults, they're wonderfully successful, they have their own homes. I tell them, my hobby is not your burden, because between us, I have a lot of comics, I have a lot of records, vinyl records, all of which are very expensive now. And I tell them if they want, they could do whatever they want with my collection. Right? I don't have any predisposed expectations of it. I tell them that's my hobby. You do what you want with them, and they're smart. They're not gonna dump them, but I don't want to put that on as a burden on them. So anyway, folks, thank you for joining me. This was episode 5 of John the Comic Guy. Next episode, I want to almost continue with the grade conversation. However, let's talk about cleaning, pressing. I'll share some of my styles with you on maybe I'll show you my equipment. So that'll probably be done on my phone. It probably will not be me sitting in the office, but I'll show you my pressing area. I'll show you some of the tools I use, and we could talk about that. I gotta believe not everybody presses their books, right? Not everybody cleans their books, and that might be something that you're interested in. So thank you for joining me for episode 5. If you like this conversation, please do hit the subscribe button. I really do appreciate you joining this community. Please sound off. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if I'm kind of missing the mark or you think you love my content. I hope you do. But hey, let me know. I am interested. I will talk to you next time. Now, unless something crazy happens, again, we're going to talk about the tools of cleaning and pressing. And you know what? If a collection comes across my desk and I have to change that up, I'm just going to do it, and I think you're going to be happy with that too. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. John the Comic Guy.